So without further ado, where are you from? What's your name? What are your guys' names? How long have you been selling on online? What platforms do you sell on? We are currently selling on Poshmark, Mercari, eBay, OfferUp,
Etsy.
and one more, Shopify. So we have a store online, flippinggals.com, and the platform there is Shopify. But right now we're just going to go through our ebook. So we have an ebook out. Let's see, did you put okay, perfect. So the title of the ebook is Top 20 Mistakes to Avoid as a Reseller. And we're going to go through every single one of those mistakes. So we're not actually going to like read the book or anything, but we're going to use each title as a topic. And you guys can ask questions, or you can also give your opinion or advice on everything. So shall we start with mistake number 1?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. All right, so I think I'm going to have you go, and then we can take turns.
Okay,
right.
So proper shipping. This was the biggest mistake I've actually made. I'm in charge of shipping. So when we first started reselling, we ran into these Funko Pops. And actually there were two items that two big mistakes I made on shipping. One is the Funko Pop dolls, and the second item is a little vintage teacup. It's made out of porcelain. And what I did was I had no clue about shipping, and we had those poly mailer, and I literally just shoved the Funko Pop and a poly mailer, and these are like limited edition items, and the buyers were extremely frustrated and even angry, saying, how could you ship this item this way? So I learned it the hard way. After that, I have secured shipping.
I mean, it got better. It was not perfect for a long time, but it definitely got better. So actually, Michelle's been in charge of shipping since day one. I made similar mistakes, and I actually am the one that wrote this book of our experiences. So I do talk a lot about my experiences, and I started selling many years ago. I used to sell books on eBay, and so I did the same thing with the book. I didn't know how to ship a book, and I wrapped it in a grocery bag. And of course, like when they got there, also it was raining, and they complained about it to us. But I think it's so funny because I remember when we got those messages from the people who are angry, they had pictures of the items, and they literally had like a picture of the poly mailer, right? A little envelope that's made out of plastic, and then you saw your broken cup in there, or you saw your smashed Funko Pop, and that was like, I was like shocked when I saw that. So there are definitely like tips and tricks as to how to properly ship items. We do discuss that in the ebook, and we discuss how you can improve your shipping strategies. So let's go to number 2.
Mistake number 2, taking low quality pictures. As a beginner reseller over a year ago, I thought I was taking really good photos, and I literally went in the garage, and I see a white background, and I just took a photo in front of the white background, not knowing the lighting was horrible. I didn't have the photo of each side of the product. I didn't take any photo of like the tag or the brand. It was really bad.
And it's so funny because you're in marketing.
Yeah.
Right? So like you're used to seeing extremely high-end quality pictures 24/7 every day at your job.
Yeah.
Right? And so, I mean, it's like she really was, again, Michelle's in charge of that, taking the pictures. She really was doing her best, right? Using her cell phone. But it was, once we went on Poshmark and saw how amazing other people's pictures looked, we're like, wait a minute, we got to set this up. So we have definitely learned and almost mastered that. And, there's always room for improvement, but we do discuss in here how we have how our journey has changed from taking crappy pictures of items in our garage, which still sold, by the way, to having amazing professional looking items that don't take a long time to get there. Because to be honest, I think for both of us, we love reselling and we love doing this business as our like side gig, but there's some parts of the process that we don't enjoy as much, and it's going to be like those more tedious things like taking the pictures. But thankfully, and we do discuss that in our ebook, there's tools now where you can literally be laying on the floor in your living room, take a picture, and you would never know that once you display the picture. So,
and keep in mind, this is really important because this is what we call the first point of sale, is when they first interact with your product is the picture. So that's super important. Let's go to the third mistake.
All right, that one's your turn.
Description. I think a lot of people have run into this issue as a reseller. It's super important to put in all the information you can absolutely put in the description, not just the title, but also the entire description. You got to talk about the colors, the cut, the size, if it's new or pre-owned. The measurements are super important.
If there's any imperfections.
If there's any imperfections. Good morning. See Creative Concepts.
And good morning, sunshine and thrift.
So yes, description. And I'm still making mistakes on description because sometimes we're going too fast. So the key is really to be consistent and double check on your description. Yeah,
and we used to copy paste descriptions a lot, and I think we've learned our lesson because again, even if you copy paste and change it, you could forget to change something, and it's really bad to put the wrong description in a large way because that can lead to a return, to an unhappy customer. And if we want to be like the best at reselling, we should probably follow, companies like Amazon or other retailers out there who their number one goal is customer service and to make their customers happy.
Yep. Mistake number 4, not doing research. So when you're sourcing, there are a lot of items that are very tempting. However, that's probably based on your own perspective. Without the proper facts and research, you may buy an item that won't sell.
Yeah, like when it comes to buying things, when Michelle and I are shopping, and of course now we shop online, but when we're shopping and we feel strongly about something and it's expensive, now we don't just go for it. We do our research, and oftentimes we find the things we feel strongly about, we should actually not buy them because of, they're just too expensive. Now, if it's an item we feel strongly about, but it's like $1 or a couple bucks, then we don't mind risking it because we love it so much, we're okay just keeping it if it doesn't sell.
Yep.
But it is, definitely, it was a mistake for us to buy so many things
without
doing research.
Yeah.
As to because our goal is to make money fast, right? So one of the things that we, before we used to not take the time to research things as far as their sale rates. So that's something really important we take into consideration now is we want to buy stuff that's going to turn around fast, and before we did not consider that at all.
Yes, correct. Mistake number 5. So this is sort of tying back to mistake number 4, is that without knowing how much you can sell the item for, you may be paying too much for items. For example, if you go to a place where you can't negotiate, like a thrift store, the price is the price. So definitely sometimes we did pay too much for items, and our profit margin basically is teeny tiny when we sell the item.
Yeah, but and then this mistake in the ebook actually talks about how you can choose, do you want to choose lower priced items and make a big profit, or are you okay paying more money per item and you're still making a decent profit, but you're spending more money out of your pocket. So those are a couple of models. And if you guys ever see resellers online posting their sales, on eBay or Amazon, you see several thousands of dollars, right? Well, their business model includes them going to retail stores, buying new things, at $50 an item, and maybe they're making a profit of $30 on the item, right? So is that your business model, or is your business model to spend $1 or $2 and make $30 on profit on the item?
Right. Mistake number 6, not learning from other resellers. This is why we are doing this, absolutely, is because we didn't have enough resource during that time, and we didn't know where to get the information. So we just went for it without learning from other resellers, and that led to us making some mistakes on, how to ship an item, or when to buy a product, or how to compare pricing, right?
Well, the thing is like when we first started reselling, we learned about it from Gary Vee. And if you don't know who he is, he's a big marketing guru. Check him out, Gary Vee on Instagram. And he showed us that you can go garage selling, buy something for $1, and sell it later for much more. So we had no idea there's a whole reselling community online that love to share information like what we're doing now. And so if you found us, or if you found anyone else, learn, get involved, learn from each other. We're great at sharing information. Hey, the Grown Kai and TrishBand99, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks for joining us. So number 7, not being more consistent. This is one of the biggest things that I think I encounter, not just with the reselling business, but also everything else. The key is really to be consistent. So setting up a process helps, but I sometimes I'm just not consistent with description. I'm not consistent with
relisting.
I'm not consistent with removing items, and so because consistency is really the key to success.
Yeah, and we're definitely still working on that. But we have improved compared to last year. And so last year was really our first year reselling. We made over $20,000 in profit our first year, and we were inconsistent, right? So this year, 2020, we decided, hey, if last year being super inconsistent, working on the weekends, and sometimes on the weekends we didn't feel like working, so we just played Nintendo, right? But if we did that, how much more could we do this year if we're more consistent? So we've definitely changed up our game this year, and it's been really great.
Absolutely. Mistake number 8, not mastering the platforms being used. So do you want to start with that?
Of course, yeah. Yeah, this is so interesting. Michelle and I both had a background on selling on eBay. So many, many years ago, I used to sell books. Michelle used to sell old purses. She used to sell her colleagues expensive purses and stuff. So we had mastered eBay, right? So when we first started, we were selling so much on eBay. OfferUp is easy, by the way. You don't need a nice picture. Take a picture and you get a lot of people wanting your item. So we thought we were like, oh, this is fun and easy. Well, as soon as we started selling on Poshmark, no bites.
Yeah.
And it was extremely discouraging. I know Michelle wanted to quit using Poshmark several times. And I was that's when I jumped online and met a bunch of resellers in the community, asked questions. I was consistently following and sharing, and after 3 months, we got the momentum and we started selling. So if you are currently not selling on a platform that you may have heard of out there, and you feel like, hey, I have a really good rhythm going in my business, but I want to increase my sales, I want to try a new platform, go for it. But make sure it's one platform at a time. Make sure that before you quit the platform, you feel like you've mastered it and spent the time learning it.
Mistake number 9, not creating a process for everything. So I can talk about this because when we first started, we had no inventory system. We had no structure as to how we list the item, how we organize all our items. And so as time went by, we accumulated a lot of inventory without a system. And that was probably the biggest mistake I have made out of all the 20 mistakes, because it created a whole mess, and I had to take the time to go back, look at each item, number all my bins, and set up this process. So it's not just a process of inventory, but it's also a process of how you take photos, a process of how you list, and make sure everything has a procedure, because that's going to set you up for success.
I totally remember this. It was such a hassle and we hated it. We had, we went from having a few items to having over 1,000. And we had no process. So literally Michelle had to take weeks to grab each item, make a new spreadsheet, number every item. And we're still working on it, by the way. It's a work in progress. But look, if you are just starting, this is a great time for you to create a process. Don't wait like we did, because it can turn into a nightmare really quickly.
So this next mistake is sourcing too much on inventory. It's kind of going back to that inventory system. Without the inventory system, you're really creating a whole big mess. And the biggest issue is when your item is sold, how are you supposed to find that one item within the 1,000 items?
Well, you're talking about process, though. What I actually meant with the sourcing too much inventory is, we have full-time secular jobs.
Okay.
And we don't have the time to... Remember that one time we went sourcing like 3 times? And we bought over like 100 items at one of the thrift stores that had a big sale. And it's like we had to spread ourselves out to list those things.
Oh.
So that's kind of what I meant. But also, it can be a big, it can take a lot of money out of your wallet.
Yeah.
If you don't have like a budget or something.
But it's, with the quarantine going on, it may not be too bad nowadays. Now you have too much. But,
It ended up working out just great for us in the situation.
Mistake number 11. Is that 11?
Yeah, it's number 11.
Number 11, not removing listings. Again, not removing listings when an item is sold and you're selling on multiple platforms. If you...
I'm just looking at you. Don't stop. Keep going. You're doing great.
If you don't remove the item as soon as it's sold, you might have another buyer and you're going to run out of inventory and you're going to have to cancel the sale, which create a very negative buying experience for whoever bought the item.
Yeah. But it can get tricky. That's the thing, is that it can get tricky when you're selling on so many platforms. And so that's the thing, is like being able to track what platforms your items are on and making sure as soon as they sell, before you go to bed, that you unlist them and find them. Now, it's really easy to find things on eBay because you can just do a search for the item's name. You can do that on Mercari. On Poshmark, you can narrow it down by brand. OfferUp, it's a nightmare, especially if you have a lot of listings. And Shopify will immediately take it down for you when it's sold. So that's... Yeah. Oh, no, it does not. You have to go in there and also...
You have to go in there and delete.
it, yeah.
So that's super important. What I do is we have a spreadsheet keeping track of every single sale. And when I update that spreadsheet, I make sure I delete the items. And what you can do now is on Mercari and eBay, you can do a quick search with keywords so you could locate that item easily. Another thing is a cross-listing platform, Vendu, you can delist items quite easily.
So that's huge.
Yeah. If you guys have any questions, there's a little button with a question mark.
The question sticker?
Yeah. And you can ask us any questions. This is the whole point of us doing this. It's called Coffee and Questions. So we'd love to love to chat with you.
As the questions come through, as the questions come through, we'll save it until the end to answer the questions. And if there's time, if you want to come hop on with us live, we can do that too.
All right, next. Mistake number 12, spending too much upfront on supplies and tools. No, let's start with that.
All right, yeah. So when you are first starting, even what I mean by first starting, even your first year or two, you want to minimize your expenses. I know it's really... Gosh, even for me, like I love having tools that are going to help me grow, but you want to be selective about what those are. You don't want to just like go out and spend hundreds of dollars on like a virtual assistant. There's a lot of different solutions. Spend the time to do the research, spend the time to talk to other resellers, see what they're doing, what they're using. Be strategic about how you're running your business, because it can quickly turn from fun to stress, and you don't want that to happen. So, find the cheapest tape, find the cheapest way to get boxes and shipping materials. We talked about the other day how you can get a lot of these things for free. Mm-hmm. You wanted to say something?
Yeah, so USPS, for those of you who don't know, USPS provides free shipping supplies for anything priority mail. And what you do is you go to USPS.com, or you can just do a quick Google search and put USPS free supplies. You can order 25 boxes at a time of each size. So they have different sizes, from like even a tube for hot posters, and they have shoe boxes. They have all kinds of sizes. So they'll mail it to you in a couple of days. So order those for free.
And we just wanted to do a quick shout out to Sig's Creative Concepts. Thanks for joining us today. And Marita Fit Girl, thanks for joining us this morning.
So we'd love to chat with you guys. We're going to go over the 20 mistakes, and then we're going to have like a quick powwow together as a team.
I think we touched on this one already. Mistake number 13, not being organized with our inventory. We talked about that earlier. It's a problem because, oh gosh, so we have stories. So there's a couple of times where we couldn't find our item, and so we unfortunately had to deliver the bad news that we don't have the item, only to find it a couple months later, and that's just the worst. That's got to be the worst.
Yeah, right? It's the worst. And the problem is I would spend hours looking for one item.
Every single sale. Every single sale.
And then I would like make up stories in my head. I'm like, oh my God, I think it's sold. Oh wait, no, it's not. So it's the worst thing ever.
It's the biggest time killer in a business to not be organized with your inventory. So quickly, our system, we number every single item, but we also put it in containers, like big plastic containers, and we also designate which room we could find it in. So if we saw the item, we go in our inventory sheet, we simply do a search, and it tells us the item number, the bin number, and the room number. So that works perfectly. And the key is you want to find your items in less than 5 minutes.
Yep. Mistake number 14, not keeping track your cost of goods. So this is the whole purpose of having a reselling business, is to know how much you're making. However, sometimes we go to garage sales and we have so much fun sourcing, but we don't know how much the item costs because we're having too much fun. So now we have a process going back to process, is whenever we go on garage sale, estate sale, or even a thrift store, you make sure you document how much you buy the item for, because you don't always get a receipt, for example, like garage sales, right?
Yeah, or even Goodwill or any other thrift store, you'll get a receipt, but it doesn't have the exact description of the item. Yeah. So the key here is when you source things, you need to immediately have a process for writing down things like the item description, how much it costs, where you bought it from, and what else? Did I miss anything? Yeah, and I think that's it. And so don't wait to do it later, because you could forget. And again, the worst thing you could do is not know the cost of your item, because then you cannot negotiate on offers, or you just don't know if you're making a profit or losing money, right?
Yeah, that's right. Mistake number 15, not providing accurate and detailed description. So this goes back to description. Without the details, even if there are stains or holes, you make sure you actually take photos of those holes and stains, just to make sure it's in the description, the buyer agrees with it, and that when they open a case, you have something to back you up.
Very good. All right, mistake 16.
Provide incorrect pricing. This has to do with, going back to listing, and make sure you put the pricing accurately. So sometimes when you're selling on Poshmark, now I'm learning to price the item really high, because when you do the offer, not really high, but like twice or 3 times higher, that's the general rule. But if you make offer to likers, if you price it too low, you're not going to make any money and you can't offer to likers.
Okay, so we actually need a correction on that because that's not really our pricing strategy anymore. It used to be. So before we would find the price using various tools, which we do discuss in the ebook. Once you find your price, like what the item's currently going for, we used to price it super high. We're going to wait on the questions until the end, okay?
Okay.
So we used to price it super high. And what we ended up doing now, though, that wasn't working because some people are too afraid to make offers. So what we do now is we price right in the middle. And then, we have a rule that we follow, which is we don't take offers below 20% of the prices that we put out because we took time to do the research. We know what the items are going for. So in order for us to make a profit, to spend time on grabbing the item and packaging it and sending it off, even after the time we spent sourcing it, we will not go below that 20% threshold. So, all right, let's go to the next one. Uh-oh, where is it? What happened now? Yeah, here we go. All right.
Number 17, not listing daily. And this is something that I think the entire reselling community is always talking about is listing daily. We have like listing challenges. Our goal is to list at least 5 to 10 items a day.
And let's just be honest and say we are still not 100% doing this consistently.
I'm still not doing this.
So,
but you know what? Listing daily helps a lot. So that's still a mistake that I'm making. But I'm gonna keep working my way through and try and do it every day.
Yeah. So Michelle and I, we have separate what do you call it? Tasks that we do, designated tasks. So we encourage each other and let each other know, how to improve and stuff. But on the not listing daily, there's a whole lot of reasons as to why we need to list every single day. And it goes into detail in the book. But one of the things about it is, you relist every day, and people are going to see your store, and it's all about visibility, right? And if you on the app Poshmark now, they have this new thing where at the top, they have kind of like on Instagram, you have your stories at the top, but they have newly listed items on the top.
Yeah.
So you could see just from that one platform, if you list every single day, and you might say like, well, what if I don't have new inventory? Well, what you do is you end the listing of your old inventory, and then you just list that item again. Really huge. This is key. This is a key secret, okay? When you've had an item sit there for a while, it's not moving, that's a time to go back and do research again because maybe you missed something the first time. So I do that all the time with my books. We sell books on Amazon. I go in there, I do research. Prices change all the time. Prices have changed now compared to what they were last year, especially with everything going on. So that gives you a chance to not just, stop it and relist it, but stop it, do a little bit of research on the item again, and relist it maybe with a new price and new information.
All right, mistake number 18, neglecting dirty items. So I am, sometimes when we go sourcing, we get very excited, especially when you see the BOLO items. And sometimes we get so excited that we forget to check on the quality of the item. We just want to snatch it. We've made quite a few mistakes on getting dirty items, getting items that have holes, getting items that have stains, and most of the time, no one's going to buy it. And even if sometimes there was a case when you sell an item with stains and it's in the description, the buyer would still get upset about the stains. And so the key is try not to get any items with any holes or stains, even if they're pretty, rare or special.
Yeah, I mean that's up to your business model, but we were buying items with stains on them, and we were taking a picture and we were putting it in the description, and then we would still get complaints and people wanting to return the item because they missed that. So at some point we decided we're not going to sell items that have stains. We're not going to sell items that smell, and we're not going to sell items with holes. So, when you're thrifting and buying, you do your best to find the imperfections. But if before you take pictures and stuff, you should check them again. And again, that's our business model. We know people who don't mind doing that. And even every now and then, if it's a really expensive item and it has an imperfection, we'll list it. But now we're not as neglectful about it. So we're more intentional. So just quickly, we want to shout out to Rian Liu 2619, Ali Sun's Posh Closet, Les Ruse 82, Adam Carrasquillo. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Mistake number 19, not removing sold items. So that's going back to the listing, not removing the listing, and this happens quite often.
Mm-hmm. But thankfully, you said we use Vendu.co, and we have all the tools that we use, and we're going to talk about one more tool in the next slide. You can find it in our bio. So if you guys were to purchase through our bio, we do get a little commission out of that. But anyway, Vendu.co now has this delisting feature, which is amazing. Now, can you apply that to all the items?
Yeah. So if you list an item on Vendu, you can, once the item is sold, you can go into Vendu, go to that item and hit delist on multiple platforms.
So Vendu right now does Etsy, eBay, Mercari, and Poshmark.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a time saver right there, right? How can you miss delisting an item like that, right? Yeah. The only killer is OfferUp, but OfferUp was our second highest profitable platform last year, so we still take the time to go in there and work with that platform. Hello, Brianna K's Chilling. Thanks for joining us this morning. Here's our last mistake in the book. It's called finding the right assistant. So at some point in your selling journey, once you start growing, you're going to need some help. And, we needed help from the beginning because we were busy with our day jobs. So we hired, person to help us, would come to our home and everything. But then after that, we decided to hire also a virtual assistant. So after several months of doing that, we found out that we could save even more money by hiring, a service that shares our. Oops, let me take off this timer. That shares our closet on Poshmark. And so right now we're using Resellers Assistant. There's a link in our bio. It's really one of the most affordable things we have out there. We used to have a virtual assistant. I think her hourly rate was extremely low. It was like $4 an hour. And Reseller Assistant is even lower than that. Yeah. It's about half the price. So it's extremely affordable if you guys have a lot of inventory and you need some help sharing. It has 1000% helped us with all of our Poshmark sales that we have now. And that's one thing we don't want to spend time on is sharing, too much on Poshmark because we have to do other stuff. So
yeah, so we both have full-time jobs, and it's going to be impossible for us to keep sharing our items if we have 1,000 items.
Over 1,000 items.
So I think the book will talk a little bit more about how that works. If you guys are interested in virtual assistants, the book will have more information on
it. I mean, if you're interested in scaling, you're going to need help. That's like a must. So if you feel like you've hit your plateau, it's time to get some help. And whether it's using Vendu.co or Reseller Assistant, there's different tools. But again, be selective. You don't want to overspend. So we're going to take some questions now. If you have any comments or questions that you want to ask us, please use a little question sticker down below and we can display it so everyone can see it. Okay, so we're going to start with this one here. It says, Sig's Creative Concept says, thanks for all these valuable tips. How do we get your book again? I need it so much. Thank you so much for this comment. We really appreciate that. If you are interested in our book, send us a DM with your email. We'll send you a link to purchase the book, which is immediately available for download. And we have a special price for all of you that joined us today. Our book is $19.99, but we're going to give it to you at half the price. if you just send us a DM with your name for $9.99. So thanks
the book is what, 80 pages?
No, I think it's about 75 pages.
Yeah,
actually.
So it's quite long, and it talks about, all these 20 mistakes in details, and it's more than just what we had.
Yeah, it's gonna go into a little bit more detail than we did today. Okay, so the Grown Kai says, "Hi, I'm Lauren. Do you have any posts, or can you discuss OfferUp? I'm familiar with the app, but I don't sell on there. Do you sell? What does it say? Do you sell local or ship or both? Okay, yeah, we can
Hi, Lauren.
Briefly discuss the answer on that. So we started with OfferUp. Well, I mean, we have eBay background, but our first app was actually that we sold when we started this journey was on OfferUp.
And our first item.
And we've sold so many things on there. So download the app. You can do both shipping or you can do local pickup. We have, OfferUp and Facebook Marketplace are very similar in the way that they work. If you're okay doing local pickup with the pandemic, what we do with local pickups is we ask the buyer if they have an app where they could pay us, whether it's Venmo or a Zelle, maybe Apple Pay. And if they don't, then we ask them to put the cash in a Ziploc bag, and we bring a little box so they could just put it in the box. And we wear a mask, gloves. We let them know that we're practicing social distancing. We meet at a park. They leave the item on a bench. Sorry, we leave the item on the bench. They leave the payment, and it's been really smooth transactions. Definitely use it. People love OfferUp. We once sold a blender there for $30 that brand new that Walmart was selling for $25. So people go on OfferUp and they buy things. So yes, don't neglect that
OfferUp, there's a perception that OfferUp is only good for big items, but believe it or not, people also buy little items. And we sold a set of vintage die-cast car. There were 20 cars in there. And I was really shocked because that would be an item that you would sell on eBay. Who would go on OfferUp and look for vintage collectibles?
Cars, yeah.
So we shipped everything out there. Something I talked about 2 days ago, if you want to listen to that podcast, we talked about shipping. OfferUp offers super duper affordable shipping. 10 to 20 pounds is only $13.
So I think based on your questions, you're giving us topics to discuss, and we do this daily. So if you have topics, just send it to us on DM. We're happy to do a whole, show on that. So Adam Carrasquillo said, didn't realize sharing on Poshmark was so important. So you recommend sharing more on Poshmark. Sharing on Poshmark is, how would you say how important that is for our business?
It's super important, especially when there's a party going on. So as a buyer, if there's like a party, you go in there and you share those items.
Yeah, and also what you want to do is get a lot of followers because you're sharing to your followers, right? So what we do for followers is we follow a lot of people. People will see you, and then if they want to follow you, then they do. It's important you share maybe, 3 times a day at least, and you want to share your entire closet with your followers. If you guys who are on here are experts at Poshmark, if you would like to share some tips with Adam Carrasquillo, along with what we've mentioned, that would be awesome. So definitely, yes, you have to share every single day, multiple times a day. And one more thing about Poshmark and sharing is they also have the option you could share to Twitter and Pinterest. And Poshmark this platform is created to be very social. So the more you share, not just within Poshmark, but even to your Twitter account or your Pinterest account, the algorithm for Poshmark will favor you. And so on Poshmark, relist every day, share multiple times a day. It is not an app you could just list and forget. It's an app you want to be active in every single day. Become friends with other Poshmark sellers. They're really awesome at sharing also your closet, and you can try also sharing other Poshmark sellers' closets. So hello, Sadai's Legacy. How are you? And the Thai Guy 21 and Bon Voyage Thrift. How are you, Allie's Poshmark? Thanks for joining us today. All right, so are there any other questions before we call it a day? If you are interested in in our ebook, send us your email in a DM, and we will send you a link to a special price of the ebook of $9.99. It's originally $20 or $19.99. So let's see. I think that's it. This was an earlier request. So you want to go on live? Okay, Marita Fit Girl wants to go live. Let's pop in and see what you have to say there.
She declined.
Okay, so maybe that was an error. All right. Well, thanks again for joining us today. We wanted to. This was super fun, and we hope that you guys were able to learn at least one thing from this.
No problem, Marita.
Yeah, and we'll see everyone tomorrow. Have a wonderful Saturday. Oh, awesome. So she went ahead and bought it at $9.99. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We hope this was valuable to you, and we will see you guys next time. Thanks for joining us. Should I stop the recording?